no doubt you've looked on some websites and you've seen these Chinese wheels. They look really nice. They are very cheap. They're a third, sometimes a quarter of the price of a name brand carbon fibre wheel set. So no doubt it's worth looking into. A few factors to consider, I thought we'd do a video about this, is the intended use that you have them, perhaps for triathlon, road riding or even mountain biking. But in particular we're looking at road riding. The terrain that you're going to be using them on, even the weather, and the rider himself, his riding style, his power, and most importantly his weight. So to sum it all up, basically it comes down to the rider's weight and the quality of the wheel set. The front wheel doesn't have to cope with many stresses, but the rear wheel does. The rear wheel carries 65 to 75% of the rider's weight, particularly over the bumps and also with the power transfer through the drivetrain, causing a twisting effect on the rear wheel. So a heavier rider exerts more twisting forces on the rear wheel than a lighter rider. This is particularly so in hills and sprinting. So as mentioned, the front wheel doesn't take many stresses, so let's focus on the rear wheel. The light rider gets away with a lot more than a heavier rider. He can ride all these ultra lightweight wheels, but the heavier rider will need to avoid so-called ultra lightweight wheels. You'll need to go for something more robust. Otherwise you will be asking for breakages in the wheel and it's going to cost you in the long run. You'll probably end up buying a more robust wheel set anyhow. So what constitutes a more robust wheel? Having more spokes will definitely make the wheel more robust. Having a deeper section rim, the rim depth. This is for an average rider. These are 50mm. You can go 60s or even 88s. But keep in mind what the intended purpose is for your wheels. If you go 88s, it's very deep, it'll catch the wind more. Also you can have more carbon, a couple more layers of carbon where the spoke enters into the rim, but that's up to the manufacturer. You often find on websites they'll have wheel sets and they'll have a weight specification. This wheel set is for a rider up to a certain weight. So keep that in mind as well. If you're not sure, you can always send them an email and find out.
Here's a quick and easy chart I just made up. It's pretty much industry standard. A lightweight rider would be considered up to 79 kilograms. A medium-sized rider would be up to 86 kilograms. And a heavier rider would be considered 86 kilograms or more.
So going back to our name brand wheels, the spoke tension is actually less than on the Chinese wheel. So does that mean that these name brand ones are no good and the Chinese ones are better? Not necessarily. A slightly less tensioned wheel will be more comfortable and forgiving on the bumps. But then you'll get less power transfer. A tighter wheel will give you more power transfer. But if they're too tight, they're going to pull the spoke through the rim, or possibly even the spoke out of the hub flange itself. So there has to be a happy medium in the actual wheel build itself. So now let's have a look at the quality of the parts that make up the wheel. It consists of the hub, the spokes, and the carbon rim itself.
This is your typical Chinese hub. They pretty much all have sealed bearings these days. If you need to replace sealed bearings, if at all, during a hub's lifetime, they're fairly simply pressed in. One on the outside, one in the middle, and one usually at the end. The cassette's a unit on its own that can be replaced also.
And another factor to consider is the wear of your cassette cogs on the cassette body itself. Some bodies are made of aluminium, which is softer than steel. This one's a steel one, but nevertheless the cog wear on this body is quite significant, as you can see.
Here's an aluminium cassette body, also showing signs of wear. And here's a brand new cassette body with nice straight splines. You may never have to replace the cassette body in the lifetime of the wheel set though.
Okay, going back to our name brand wheels again, we have Sappham stainless steel spokes with aluminium nipples. The Chinese wheels have steel spokes and they're painted so they don't rust, with aluminium nipples. So you might say, oh, steel's no good, much better to have stainless steel. Well, not necessarily. Both metals have been used in bicycle wheels as spokes for many, many decades now, and they've proved to be a good metal. So either way. By the way, you can get, quite a lot of the Chinese sellers will have the option, if you want stainless steel spokes instead of the painted steel ones, you can do that as well.
This standard Chinese carbon wheel set uses J-bend spokes. They've been around for years. They're very easy to replace if you break a spoke as well. And here's the spokes on the genuine zip wheels that I showed earlier in the video. These are called straight pull spokes. The spoke head looks a bit like a nail head, as you can see. And you can certainly buy a Chinese wheel set with straight pulled spokes. Here you can see on my wheels, which have done a lot of miles, the paint's wearing thin and the rust is coming through, but the rust really is nowhere near compromising the structural strength of the spokes. And on the same wheels, aluminium nipples, of which the only problem's been cosmetic, losing their shiny anodized red finish. So, whether you're going to have round, flat, straight pull, or any one of numerous coloured spokes, the spoke arrangement should come according to your weight requirements.
So the rim's a very important part of the wheel. The hub, you can replace the bearings in your axle if you break them or wear them out. Spokes also, if they break, you can replace. Not often do they cause a major accident. But your rim, however, being carbon fibre, shows very little signs of wear and tear until all of a sudden it can break. That can cause a major accident. So it's important on a regular basis to have a close inspection to see if there's any wear or cracks. If you suspect some strange performance from your wheel, or perhaps your brakes are grabbing, have a closer look. Look for rim deformation, perhaps any hairline cracks, or even the lamination itself may be whitening. So for instance, on this rear wheel, the brake surface should be nice and flat and flush with the rest of the rim. But instead, along here, from about here to here, the rim's actually caving in. It's difficult to see, but when you run your fingers over it, you can feel it collapsing in on the brake surface. And it's also a slight discoloration just here.
Looking a bit closer, you can see how the rim's collapsing inwards, and it's a definite fracture in the carbon there. This is how the wheel should normally look, a flat and even braking surface. Zooming in again with the camera, there it is. I'll highlight it with the ballpoint pen here. You can just faintly see the crack or the fissure in the carbon fibre there. This wheel is now unsound and definitely not fit for riding. If the tyre pressure is 90 to 100 pounds, as it usually is, the tyre could blow at any moment. Here in the wheel jig you can hear it's pretty obvious. And while the brake surface is being pushed in, where the tyre joins the rim at the bead joint, it's being pushed out. After going for a ride, take a clean white rag or tissue and wipe it on the frame where the brakes are. There you go, you can see there's a combination of brake pad dust and rim dust. And on the brake pads themselves, even though a lot of it is dirt from the ground, some of it is still brake dust.
A lot of aluminium wheels have wear indicators on them. For instance, on this rim here, you see it has a dot where my finger is. When that dot wears out, it's time to replace the rim or the wheel. Some carbon fibre wheels have the indicators as well under the lamination. When you see a mark come through, it's time to replace them. But a lot of carbon fibre wheels don't. That's another thing to keep in mind. Regularly inspect the braking surface.
And here's some expensive name brand carbon failures, just to show you that nothing's infallible.
So there's some principles on wheels that applies to most wheels on the bicycles, not just carbon wheels. But you're probably thinking, oh, I'm still not quite sure. Well, let me give you some reassurance. These carbon fibre Chinese wheels I bought 2.5 years ago. I looked on my Strava to see how far they've gone, and it was 11,721 kilometres. They've actually done more than that because I used them on another bike as well, so they've probably done close to 12,000 kilometres. About a year ago I replaced both bearings. They were getting a little bit gritty, so I replaced them both. Just cheap bearings, not ceramic. Fine, still going strong. I hit a cat eye on the road. If you're not sure in your part of the world what a cat eye is, it's a little indicator for the cars. It's glued to the road surface so cars can see the lines that they're taking. I hit one of them, bang, on the back and broke a spoke. But since then I put another spoke in and it came up dead true again, so that's fine. But the straw that broke the camel's back was I wore the brake surface out. So have you decided which seller you're going to buy your wheel set from? Well, you can have a look at a lot of forums, what people write, positives and negatives. You can have a look at a lot of feedback on the sellers' sites. They have positive and negative feedbacks as well. You can have a look at a lot of YouTubes if you want to. People put up YouTubes, they buy these wheels from China, cheap. They pull them out the box, they all look nice and shiny, they have nice decals on them. But then you quite often find those same people will upload another video in 6 months' time, or 1,000 kilometres or 2,000 kilometres, whatever the mileage they've done on their wheels. And the wheels are broken, which is a shame. They've wasted good money. So my only advice would be to buy from a reputable dealer, have a look at their feedback, and they should have a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback on their selling sites. Also, the reputable dealer may cost you a little bit extra, but in the long run you have peace of mind knowing you have a good wheel set that will last you a long time, and is still cheaper, a lot cheaper than buying the name brand wheels. I certainly will be buying another set of Chinese wheels after these ones have lasted me so well. I'll see if we can help you out on who's who to buy from. In the next video I'll upload another video. In the meantime, post any comments below. We're in it to help each other out. We can get good quality products for less price, which is good, so we can keep on riding. See you next video.